Well. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Write Your Narrative, a weekly podcast where we are discussing everything street art related happening in South Florida. I'm your host, Pascal D from Token of the Wall. This week, my guest is a conceptual graffiti artist and project conservator based in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Her name is Mick La Rock. Mick is one of Europe's first and most well-known female graffiti artists. Inspired by the traditional New York School graffiti lettering style, she started writing her name Mickey in 1983. Shout out to the Wynwood Museum of Graffiti for inviting Mick La Rock to exhibit her latest body of work in a spectacular installation called Beyond Measure. Thank you so much, Mick. Should we call you Mick or Mickey? You go more by...
Oh, you can call me Mick or Mickey. I listen to both.
You answer to both. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. This is a great honor. I'm very touched to have you on the podcast. So welcome to Miami. Welcome to Wynwood, Mick.
Thank you. Yay, Miami.
Yes, and you are wearing pink, a bright color. This is also the color of the podcast, and this is Miami. This is fresh, and the old pretty much exhibit. There's a lot of pink, black, grays, but pink is the color that you are. Is that the color that you chosen for this specific show?
Absolutely, yes, because I was never really into the color pink. I come from graffiti, and graffiti is done with by mostly men, and there were also machismo colleagues of mine that when we went painting, they would say like, "Mickey, you are a girl, so when you paint with me, you have to use pink." And I was like, nah, no. I use my colors. So for many years, I kind of abandoned the color pink as a main color. But the last 2 years, I had my aqua turquoise teal, like that aqua green phase. But then using that color in Miami, it's very much in Miami color. But I've used that color so much that I thought it would be not so challenging to come here and do another installation with that aqua blue color. And I thought, like, you know what? Let me go pink. So this is my coming out as with pink, and it might be the start of a pink phase in my career.
Sure.
But I thought, like, hey, if I come to Miami, I gotta do it the way I should. So it's like an exaggeration of the color pink, and that's why I'm wearing pink. And I actually bought all kind of pink tools to make the exhibition: a pink cutter, a pink pen, a pink ruler, a pink bag for my
nails are painted pink.
Oh yeah, my nails are done pink, and they are done based on my designs. It's done by Vanity Projects here in Wynwood, and I love them. They did such an incredible job, and that was the nicest collaboration I've done as an artist so far. Just work with a really good nail salon. Super nice.
It's something that we see from time to time here in Wynwood, but this is something just so different. I mean, this is art also. This is definitely art.
Oh, nail art is art, and I couldn't do it. It's so refined. It's so minimal, or miniature, that's the word. But just to wear this pink outfit, of course, I took another pink outfit just because it's for the interview today, because I will, so that I match my installation.
All right.
I'm part of the installation.
Well, I promise you're going to have a couple of pictures. The interview is just audio, but then for the social media, we definitely going to be taking a couple of portraits. So thank you so much. So the theme that you chosen for the installation is called Beyond Measure. Why this title?
Because like when you do free graffiti, like the traditional graffiti, it's so free. You don't think about, well, you do think a bit about measurements in such a way that it's more like the balance in the piece. So, like I'm from the traditional school, so lines should be all evenly thick, and the dimensions, the negative space between letters should not differ too much from each other. So that's a way of looking at dimensions. But the real measuring came when I started to do abstract graffiti, and doing that by from the heart, when I had to change, like, how can I explain this? Like when I make my hand-drawn abstract work and I wanted to transform it into vectors and into something with the computer, like it's an experiment. I found out that it's all about measuring, and that actually like my the angles that I work with, my diagonals, they're all like exactly like they were like an exact 60 degrees or an exact 45 degrees without using a ruler. So I started using rulers, and like with my abstract graffiti that's on display here at the museum, everything is about measuring. Like my biggest tools over the last 4 years, when I do murals, when I do my paintings, it's like all my measuring tools. And then when we were thinking about a good title for the show, I came up with like, well, it's about dimensions, it's about my tools. And then of course, naturally, I speak Dutch, the Dutch language, so I'm not really familiar with too many of the English expressions. But when we came to beyond measure, which is like also like, it's further than you can think of, and it has like different meanings, I was like, that's the one. Because I think I really outdid myself with this installation and exhibition. I took it to different dimensions that other people would do. Like I had there's art on the floor, there's art hanging from the ceilings, there's art hanging, like being presented in the traditional way, just like on a canvas and in a frame. And I think it was beyond measure. And you're talking about freedom. It's like I feel so much freedom, and the steps that I made from traditional New York school graffiti to what I'm doing now, I need those sharp lines and all those. I need it to keep the power over it. But on the other side, with me taking it into measuring stuff, that is my freedom, because in graffiti you're not really allowed to measure stuff. It's like, oh no, you paint what comes up in your head, and it can be anything. And I'm just like, so I'm reversing it. Like I'm making it maybe more difficult for myself.
Probably yes.
Yeah, but those are challenges, and I'm a very bad calculator. I always got like a D or an E for math.
Hard to believe.
And so, like, no, it really is. Like, I really like it. You keep. So for me, it's also like I say like an achievement for me that I embrace a part of math that I do understand, which is measuring. Yes. So it's like it's embracing a couple of things that I did not have before in my life. So the color pink, and the fact that I can do a little bit of math, and I can show the world, and my old teachers like, you see, I'm doing it.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. I mean, this is the growth of an artist. It's just to evolve and then to challenge yourself. Definitely, it's something you want to do as an artist. You don't want to just repeat yourself. I mean, a lot of people are doing this, and they're very, very successful, are redoing the same character or the same lettering over and over and over. There's nothing wrong with it, but this is, I believe, as a growth of a person in your life, in your personal life, you need to improve yourself. You need to move on. And then this is the result in that show, which is absolutely spectacular.
Thank you.
Absolutely spectacular.
Thank you. And I do agree. It is, as an artist, it is really easy once you have found your one-hit wonder.
Correct, yes.
And then to repeat it, because everybody likes it. You found that one thing that it gives you success, it gives you the attention, and you repeat it over and over again. There are a zillion of artists, not only street artists, but artists, musical artists, or regular visual artists, any type of artist that just repeats what they did. But I think, like for some it works. But for me, as soon as I feel that I have mastered a certain thing, and that it becomes like, no, let me put it like this. As soon as I notice that the challenge has gone, Because if you repeat your one-hit wonder all the time, there's no challenge in it anymore.
Yes.
And everybody can applaud, and you might be able to make the money because somebody else wants your one-hit wonder on his wall. And that's all fine, because everybody needs to make what they want to make.
Absolutely.
But for me, as soon as the challenge is out, I have to start moving again.
So the next colorway might be some yellow, some green. Who knows? Right now you are in your pink period, like Picasso had a pink period. He had a blue period.
Yeah.
He had okay, all right.
Well, my pink period just started.
It just started. So guys, be ready to see more pink and everything. And you're gonna bring it back to Amsterdam. So. Talking about Amsterdam, you are extremely involved in the art community in Amsterdam and in Europe in general. I'm sure you've done quite a lot of work.
Yes.
Lately, you were part of a project to bring a huge mural by Keith Haring in Amsterdam, so which is absolutely fantastic. So you studied also all that graffiti story coming from the US, of course. As we know, everything started either in New York or either in Philadelphia.
That's the chicken and the egg.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, that's the thing. Nobody can tell.
I don't think. I think similar movements start at similar moments, because what we saw happening when I was a kid growing up. I thought the New York graffiti came from New York, and then only later you find out that there was a similar wall writing movement in Philadelphia. But when we did not have internet and when we did not have any books out about graffiti at that moment yet in Europe, that also not the books that came from New York, there was graffiti happening in the city where I was born, in Groningen. So I grew up with tags around me. They look different. They look just like when you open the Watching My Name Go By, or Wall Writers book. Mm-hmm. So it's not a very naive, readable graffiti. It's Pinox 82. It's Barracuda. All these names. That's what I saw. So I think with the invention of spray paint, at one point somebody in the world would have started writing a name, and other people would see it and also start doing it.
Correct.
So it's and you ask me about my, the stuff that I do as a conservator. Because yes, I from the moment that I was caught by the virus of graffiti at the age of 10 in 1980, I am not a collector in the way that I buy work. It's just that I collected every written word about graffiti because we had no internet. I was going through newspapers, magazines, anything. I would just collect the magazines. I still have it all. I'm such an archivist. And I would read every loose word about graffiti. I would read it and I would put it in my head and I would follow the movement. So I'm just like this big graffiti nerd walking around on this earth.
That's such a nice way to put it.
Yeah, and about the Keith Haring in Amsterdam, he painted it in 1986 when he had a big show at the Stedelijk Museum of Amsterdam. I was already thinking that mural must be there. And I saw an article about it popping by through Facebook or on the internet. And I was like, wait a minute, it might be still there. Let me check. So I went there and I had a look. I was like, yeah, it can't be removed. It must be there because it was hidden under a layer of cladding.
Yes.
And the cladding was still up. So the painting must be underneath. And then I started a lobby because I wanted to see if I could save it because they are redeveloping that area. It's just like here in Wynwood, like Amsterdam is getting gentrified. So everywhere is redevelopment. I started a lobby together with my friend Olivier Farosio. And because he knew a lot of people in real estate, so yes. he had the entrances that I did not have, and he knows how to speak their language.
Their language, yeah, definitely.
So we teamed up, and we really started to attract attention on the Keith Haring, because Keith Haring, we all know he's very famous. He passed away, and there are not so many preserved murals from him around the world. I think it's like 11 or 18 murals. That's it. And we have one of the biggest. It was it took more years than I expected. There were more hooks and angles to the project, but in the end, we managed to get all the parties together, and money was raised. And even the mayor of Amsterdam, when she heard that the city had a Keith Haring, she was fabulous. She was like, "Do we have a herring? I don't care how much it costs, but we have to make sure that one is preserved." So her, and also the work of the Keith Haring Foundation, that immediately backed us up as soon as they found out that we started the lobby. I'm so grateful for them. So then all of a sudden we had the big herring, and then I was approached by the city if I wanted to be a city curator. So I was like on an advisory board for the mayor and her, I don't know the name in English, but her team.
Her team, yes.
About art in public space. So I did that for a couple of years. I curated a bunch of graffiti exhibitions, and one in the Amsterdam Museum about how New York graffiti influenced that early graffiti, punk and soccer hooligan graffiti on the streets of Amsterdam. I like to be a bit of a graffiti historian, but I mostly like to be an artist.
Yes, of course. But that's, I mean, this is a beautiful way to walk around everything, and then to meet new people. And then that aspect of the conservation, this is how personally I also started the podcast. And 10 years ago, the magazine here in Wynwood is just to support, to document the art scene. Things are just going so quickly. And like we know, art is so, it's on the wall one day, the next week it's gone.
Yeah.
So.
And it's very, we never thought that our art, the graffiti art, would be that important 30, 40, 50 years later. So now we discovered already a while ago that there is a phase 2 mural in Amsterdam. And then phase 2 passed away. And now, guess what I'm doing right now?
All right. So that is good, people.
I've been building up a team around me to preserve the phase 2, and we're getting there. Everybody's now, like also the people in the gallery where the mural is located, they are all on how you say, like they're all like on the same
on board.
They're all on board with us, and now we're like, even now we have the city of Amsterdam on board. And we're trying to raise funding to make the preservation. We have the conservator who will do the actual work. He will be the same person who did the Keith Haring and who did another work of like by Dr. Red.
I was gonna ask you about this, because when I saw this is just a tag. This is really the early. It was not even called graffiti at the time. We were it was just writing a name, a tag. And I saw that they wanted to preserve something like this. Only in Europe they can do something like this. Here in the US, everything has been erased a long, long time.
Oh, yeah, maybe here in the US, like it's more also about that when people can make money from something, then it's worth something. So what we saw here for instance, a couple of years ago, that they discovered the Keith Haring painting in the staircase somewhere in, I think it was in Manhattan. So what did they do? They did not conserve the staircase and the building. They just chopped out the Keith Haring and sold it.
Exactly. Like they do with Banksy. They remove a wall.
So that's maybe, but I cannot really compare it. But in Amsterdam, like Dr. Red, he was not a random graffiti artist. He was a punk artist from the punk era, which was a very significant era in Amsterdam. Like the punks with their mohawks, purple and green mohawks.
Oh, absolutely.
And they were a strong voice at that time in Europe, in Amsterdam especially, with their political views. They were artists. They were intellectual. The people were thinking, oh, they're punks, and they're
very rebellious.
But now I'm fortunate to have met like some of Dr. Red's friends, like Diana Ozon, Hugo Kaagman, and some others. Like too many names now to come up with. But when I see their art and their poetry and their stencil graffiti and how they perceived the world at that time when they were young, it is very impressive. And Dr. Red was the biggest artist of them all. He did quite an impression that lasted until today. And so when the the vice mayor of the city part of Amsterdam South was saying goodbye to his job, he wanted to leave a present for his city part, which was the conservation of Dr. Red, because he said when he was a kid, he really looked up to him.
Wow.
And so this is how we did the conservation of something that might look not the most beautifulest graffiti, but there is so much cultural, historical value to it. And it's just amazing. So I called up the restorer from the Keith Haring. I was like, do you want to come back to Amsterdam? I got this little project. And he was like, yes, I'm coming, please. He's amazing. And I don't know. I hope to keep on doing it. I just got this big love and I got so much energy and I want to do it all. So, and it's important to conserve.
Oh, it's crucial. It's crucial. The work that you are doing beside being an artist is absolutely crucial. We have to document everything. Like I said earlier, I started my project talking off the wall about Wynwood, about the artists, the local artist community. I had 18 issues of the magazine with 18 local artists on the cover. We need to preserve, we need to document those things, because now graffiti, tagging, street art, it is a real form of art. And then the biggest auction houses are selling pieces of art for thousands and millions of dollars. I mean, this is recognized now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I get every month there is a collector in my DM asking me if I have Mickey, do you maybe have, because then they have read somewhere that I used to hang out with Dondi and Lady Pink and stuff, and they were like, you might have a Dondi or a Futura that I can buy, or maybe a Remelzy. And I'm just like, no, because when I was a kid, like when I was young and I got to meet all those artists, I was way too shy to ask them for art. And even if I had art, I would definitely not sell it to art sharks at all.
Art sharks, yes, you are right. And that's funny because the transition you just made, let's get back to your beginning. I mean, when you started, yes, this is what I wanted to go back in time and then listen to that whole story. The graffiti culture came a little bit later in Europe, but you still discover everything. Back in 1983, you started writing your name, Mickey, on the street. So that was your first graffiti experience. Did you ever move to New York? I mean, you went to New York for some shows, but did you live in New York?
I didn't really live there permanently, but I was in the position to just travel to New York 5-6 times in a year. I was a kindergarten teacher and I had all these school vacations. So I would come with my suitcase in my classroom, do the teaching and catch a flight after work, or come back from New York, bring my suitcase into the classroom, do my teaching, and then go home and sleep. I'm very fortunate and grateful that I was given the opportunity to come to New York and hang out with the real writers. I did not have to come to New York as a tourist, not knowing where to start. I met them all at the Groninger Museum, which was the museum of modern art in the city where I grew up. And when they saw my work, because I was very much, as we call, up at that point, like I was happening as a graffiti writer. I was like, my name was everywhere, and they saw my stuff, and there's not so many at that point. There were not many girls in the game of style writing.
That's for sure.
All. So for them to come in the city, that's the end of the world. And there is a girl writer that's like doing style. So they were so welcoming, and they said, like, Mickey, you got to come to New York, and that was my dream come true. Because I always dreamt about painting New York trains and living in New York. I hated the fact that I was born 10 years too late and in the outskirt of the world somewhere and not in New York. But so I came to New York, I painted what I had to paint, and I really knew that I wanted to live there. Then life is sometimes that doesn't give you all that you request for. So I had to go back. I'm attached to my family. I don't want to, we had no FaceTime or all those devices at that point. So how can I go live across the ocean and not be able to see my mother and my father and my family? I had obligations in Holland. I think I was too scared to make the big step. And sometimes I regret it that I didn't move to America. And like I even got married at a certain point with with somebody in New York. He's still one of my biggest friends. In the hope that, I'm in the hope to live in New York and to be in America, and then also that didn't work. So sometimes I think if it didn't happen for a reason. And when something happens, it happens for a reason. Being here in Miami and being able to live here now for stay here for 2 weeks. And also when I was here with the Art Basel last edition, and I was here for another week and a half, I'm just so happy to be back in the U.S. Like the U.S. is such a big part of my soul. Graffiti, U.S. graffiti, like doing my graffiti in the U.S. Name the combination. But I hate to leave tonight. I really am not looking forward to step in that plane.
Oh,
Believe me. Yeah, I'm getting a bit emotional saying it because I really love the U.S. I feel home here.
oh my! You almost got some tears in your eyes.
Right.
I mean, this is just incredible.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that, for the love that you're showing and sharing with our listeners. I mean, this is really, really, really sweet. So, back in 1982, when they had this show at the Groningen Museum, I mean, this is like the museum already presented some work from the graffiti guys at the time, back in the mid 80s. This is like incredible. They were ahead of their time.
Yes, it was. They were very much ahead of their time because the museum, the Groninger Museum, had a museum director. His name was Frans Haks, and he was an out-of-the-box thinker. And he wanted to have graffiti in the museum. And he was met with a lot of protest from all his colleagues in the museum directors world of the Netherlands. Why do you want to bring graffiti, this and that? And he was like, no, because they said like graffiti is not art. It's done by kids. It's like it's lower art. It won't go anywhere. Blah blah blah. And he said no. And this I know from his from Steven Kolsteren, who was his right hand in the museum. And Steven has told me this when I was doing the Groninger graffiti exhibition 2 years ago with the Groninger Museum. I curated a historical exhibition about Groninger graffiti history together with my colleagues from Klapmuur. And Steven Kolsteren told us how Frans Haks threw back the question to his colleagues, and he said graffiti is art because in art, signatures are very important. A piece of art, like a work of art, doesn't have value when there's not the signature of the artist on the painting. And what do these graffiti kids do? They isolate that signature and they blow it up. And from their signature, they're creating a whole new art form. So it is art. And he had I can't recall it all, but there were other aspects in parallels with the established art that Frans Haks was able to translate to graffiti. So he says and I'm putting it in the museum and watch me. So he did. And he did it already in 1984 together with the Boymans from Beuningen. They bought their collections from Jackie Kornblit, the famous gallerist from Amsterdam, who was the first, not the first, because in Italy there were also gallerists bringing New Yorkers. But he was the first in Amsterdam in the Netherlands to bring Gandhi, Rammelsy, Quick, Blade, Zephyr. He brought in Futura. He brought it that later became the OG.
The OGs, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, all these people that we love and respect.
Yeah, and he sold works to the museums. And in 1992, the museum, the Groninger decided to just bring all the collections together, talk with some private collectors like Henk Pijnenburg, I think also with Vlasblom, with I don't know how many. And they just brought all the art together in one big show. And on top of as a cherry on top of the cake, they also just invited and flew in all the OGs. And there I am,
wow.
Like if you had told me that I once would meet my Michael Jackson, George Michael, Beyonce,
Exactly.
like in my own hometown, and that they would say like, "Oh, yo, Mickey, that's so cool."
Yo, Mickey.
No, and they'll be like, "Yeah, you should come to New York." So that is how it happened. I met them, and they were like, especially Quick and Blade and Lady Pink. Well, actually, all of them, but they were just all so incredibly welcoming. And said SARS, they all told other people in New York. So all of a sudden I receive a letter from Is the Wiz saying like, "Yo, I heard that you're really doing great work out there in Holland. I want to invite you to New York. We'll take care of you. Don't worry, you know." So there I went at the age of 23. And my mom and dad, they were so sweet. They took me to the train station towards the airport. And there I came to New York, and that's where that's where my career definitely took a new turn. It was, how can you say, it was the cornerstone, one of the cornerstones of my my existence, for sure. And I'm so grateful that I was given that opportunity just to be in New York, and Satch would have like all these spray paint for me waiting, like antique spray paint, like the Rust-Oleums, the Red Devils, the Krylons, and like all the stuff that I only knew from Star Wars, the documentary, or from the Subway art book. And it was just amazing to be able to experience that like the last part of the original New York, old school New York graffiti scene. And I was so young and I was only focused on getting my name up and writing, that I might not have understood at that moment what I was experiencing and what the incredible, how special it was. I think it only hits me like over the recent years. Now my art career is kind of like taking serious turns, that how fortunate and I was to be given the opportunity. And so now I try to tell everybody, and I'll use this podcast again for everybody that listens, but like the gratitude, like the deep, forever gratitude that I feel towards all of the people who welcomed me to New York and who showed me the way, who took me under their wings. All I can say is like a big thank you. Like I can't even, like, a thank you doesn't cover. It doesn't cover the content. No,
there's no word big enough to but that's
and that's how I kind of end up here, because I met Kat in New York 30 years ago through Lady Pink, and we painted a wall together. I think we did we painted pieces together, and we stayed connected throughout all the years, and so. The fact that I went to New York, and I wish I could have stayed there and lived there, but that didn't happen.
You know, life goes on. But then, like you say, you had big support from your parents at a very early age. You promised them not to paint on a church or buildings like this. So that was like, okay.
My parents knew that I was unstoppable. So they sat down with me one night, and of course I got into trouble with police and everything. You know, it happens. But my parents said like, "Hey, you know, we know what you're doing," because I've always been open about it. But they came to a point that they would recognize my tag on the street, because there was not a street in Groningen that did not have my tag, and I would write my name on the bus. I would do all these I would just get up. So they said like, "Please promise us not to write your name on houses of prayer or houses of worship, whether it's a church or any type of religion, you know. So, and not on monumental buildings, like the historical monumental buildings." And what else? And art that was made by others. So no statues, no sculptures, no, don't go over art that's made by others. So that's what I kind of kept, like, I can't say I totally kept strict to it, because sometimes you made a mistake when you like they're like in the phase of life that you drink a bit too much, and party a bit too much, and then you're a bit buzzed, and you're like, you see this like nice white wall, and it like your all the filters have fallen off, and
it's
you're
peer
like,
pressure
I gotta paint this, and there's peer pressure. But like maybe I have put a couple of tags on stuff that I should not have, and then that happens.
That happens.
But usually,
it's life happens.
I really respect the rules that my parents gave me with that. Yeah,
which is good. Which is something that we just had a podcast. There is here in Miami a very young artist. Is a 12-year-old. Tab Tunes, and we recorded this podcast in the very same chair where you are today, and his parents are just pushing him and nurturing the art. So it's so beautiful when the parents are involved and appreciate the art and discover the talent that the kids can have. It's absolutely crucial.
It's crucial, because if you're a good parent and you focus on the development of your child and on your child's ways of thinking, how he or she perceives the world, if you see that your kid is an artist, I think you can tell from a very early age. I've worked with children for many years, and you can tell the artist out of them. So just nurture their urge, because artists, when you're born an artist, you have the urge to create. You can't help it. It's given from whatever is the higher power. It is given from us. It's talent, and you got the urge. You must create. So it's not good that as a parent then you say like, no, I want you to go to business school. No, I want you to go to learn a trade.
Exactly. Yeah. Just show them something, find out with them if they like sports, if they like music, if they like art, and just go with them. Go with them. Don't force them into something, but then just go with them. So, but this is just beautiful.
Yeah, I have to. And now we have a son who is getting into graffiti.
All right.
And we don't, it's difficult because we know the negative sides of doing graffiti. But what should we say? Well, we are the last ones that can say like, no, you cannot do that. So we try to guide him through the steps of doing, like the steps of being a writer. But it's, it's difficult. But as good artists, hey, if that's what he wants to do, then we have to.
Sure. How old is he?
Guide him. Oh, he's now he's 17. So.
Oh, okay, all right. So he's just about to discover everything. So this is going to bring us to the very last thing that I do in the podcast is just to bring a quote. I like when we quote people, the reflection that you can have about a quote. So the quote that I've chosen from you is from Kristen Schall. I'm going to let you read it and then see what you are thinking about it.
Exciting.
So that's something, yes.
Now you're handing me a paper with the quote printed out on it.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm gonna read the quote by Kristen Schall. So I think it's a Dutch surname.
She does have a Dutch background.
Yes. So it's a SCH. We pronounce it as. Yeah, there you go.
I'm practicing.
Kristen Schall is an American actress known for her distinctive childlike voice. Everybody's trying to leave their mark on the world. That's why there's graffiti and babies. Well, now you want to have my reaction, and I'm getting a bit of the goosebumps. I love that in here because it is. It kind of like it's that, and I compliment you for finding this quote also. Because of course it refers to it definitely refers to me being a woman and being a graffiti artist and being a mother. Definitely graffiti is making a mark on the world.
Absolutely.
Whether it's your micro world, which could be Wynwood, or the micro world, which could be like even like your school class, where you just only you carved your name in the desk of the teacher, like something like that. But it's making a mark, and babies happen, And
It's
yeah,
just the future.
It's the future, and it's like in Holland we say it's an art van het beestje. We're all humans, and we just procreate. It happens. We all do it, and then babies grow up and become the future. So we have a very big responsibility to make a good mark on our babies, with our babies, by raising them as being good world citizens who are pro-peace and who are pro-collaboration and who are pro-nature, who are pro, this world cannot handle any more war. We cannot handle any more hatred. We cannot handle any more inequality. We have to do better as human beings. So we have to make our mark with that, for sure.
And only we have to leave a mark, but then we have to make sure that somebody will be reading this mark in 20, 30, 50, 200 years.
Yeah.
We have to leave a mark, and the graffiti will be a mark. And like our babies will have their own babies after that.
Like we're now into a generation that our babies start doing graffiti, and then our babies start teaming up doing graffiti together. It happens. I mean, I have a couple of colleagues whose children are the same age as our child, and they're all start writing graffiti. So maybe it is because we unconsciously gave them the example.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Without telling them that they should do it. No, they have to do it. No, because you don't tell a child to do something that's illegal. But they saw us. They saw the positive culture that we've built. They see that we have friendships and network that reach out to every corner of the world, and it's a freedom, and there is so much positivity in it. The creativity, the freedom. The world is becoming maybe not better at a point, and graffiti is making it better. Graffiti brings color. It brings togetherness. It just brings an understanding. It
brings a conversation.
It brings conversation. It takes away anxiety because it's colorful. People can see a face. They can see something on the wall that they can recognize, flowers or a beautiful horse. Or how about that huge crocodile alligator that's somewhere here on the corner in Wynwood that is like full with jewels and gold, and when you pass by it, and all you can do, that piece is like it's world class, and when you pass by it, like it makes you happy. And that's what we have to do. We have to balance out this world with happiness and with joy and with stuff that's like just, that's good and colorful. That's what we need.
Well, thank you so much, Mickey, for these words. I mean, really, I had no idea we were going to be talking about your son. It was just like, okay. And then I found that quote last night, and I said, okay, it's all about the conservative aspect that you're working with, which is so crucial. I'll repeat myself, but this is so crucial to keep this. And now definitely graffiti is a well-recognized art form. It's absolutely undeniable.
Yeah, like bringing it back to my generation here in Europe, I do hope that, because from what I see now about talking about conservation can happen in many forms, and surely one part of the conservation is done by collectors. Like all the works from the OGs have been collected, and they're out on them, out or not on what they call the market, but that there will be a shift in attention from not only the New York OGs, but the shift of attention will slightly gradually also go to who were the OGs in Europe at the time, and then maybe just to make that that part of the conservation also continuing. Because the works on outside were ephemeral. They're only there. They lasted in our photo books.
Correct.
And in the magazines of the 90s, So yeah, that's like, and now we're all professionalizing. Also in Europe, like people go from outdoor to indoor. I'm doing it too now. I never thought I would. Now I'm here doing this big ass installation at the Museum of Graffiti, and
Yeah.
so I think it's but it will always go on.
Well, another big shout out to the Museum of Graffiti. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, this is absolutely an incredible installation. I'm going to be showing some photos over there. This is really one for the book. One for the book for me. All right.
Thank you.
So thank you all for listeners, and we'll see you all very, very soon. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, listeners.
All right. Thank you so much again. Have a great day. Thank you. Thank you so much again, Mick La Rock, for sharing your incredible journey with us. Please follow and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you on the next episode of Write Your Narrative, a South Florida Street Art podcast.